and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Mitchell Roberts, and I serve as the Director of Product Marketing at Triple Blind. Triple Blind is a technology company that has created the most complete and scalable solution for privacy-enhancing computation, allowing organizations to combine data and algorithms while preserving privacy and enforcing compliance. We are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with Jodi Morton, Global and US Chief Data Officer at KPMG. Jodi, welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here today, Mitchell.
We appreciate you being here. I'll just go ahead and get started. Because you have the unique role of being kind of a global Chief Data Officer, I want to hear more about how you manage that. We've talked about the privacy laws and different, GDPRs, data residency type laws. How do you manage just doing your job at a global scale where, so much is subject to geographical differences, where your clients are located plays a major factor, and just being dispersed across, the entire globe. I imagine it's quite challenging. So I'm interested to hear kind of how you deal with that.
Well, it's where I have good friends in risk and legal. I can ask, good questions, I think, of the folks that are attorneys. But, again, what data are we talking about? What's the use case? What's the value proposition of that use case? What data do I need to actually drive that use case? And so, really understanding that, and then bringing in, risk and legal early on. Again, I don't understand, it's not my job to understand all of the laws and regulations, in ASPAC or South America or in EMA, for example, because there's a lot going on in all those different geographies, but understanding, who I need to go to for guidance and counsel as new use cases are emerging as we implement and execute both the U.S. strategy and the global data strategy. So just earlier today, we had a conversation with some folks from our Office of General Counsel regarding a data use case. And they're going away to do some research, and they'll come back and let us know, provide advice and guidance to us on that. And then we'll say, okay, based on that advice and guidance, what do we need to implement? One of the things that we've done in the US as we've built out our enterprise data lake is there's different, I call them zones within the data lake that have different levels of security and control. So if it's, I'm going to say, public data that can be used by anybody in the U.S. firm that has a certain standard of security and care around it. But you sort of walk up these different tiers, and each one of those zones are designed with the controls around them to allow us to say, okay, if it is PII, if it is HIPAA data, that requires a very different standard of care and control. So it goes over here into zone 3, let's say, whereas, public data can go into zone 1. So we've tried to design in, as we built out these foundational data assets, that sort of graduated standard of care, so that when, that data shows up for a use case or whatever it happens to be, we're ready to go. It doesn't mean that, again, that it's a once and done. This is going to be a continually evolving space. And, what we built, I'm going to say, 2 years ago, will need to be enhanced and improved as, new data pops up that, people need to use for various reasons, and new, policy, law, regulation around it come along with it. So again, close partnerships with folks in our legal department, close partnerships with folks in our risk department are critical in this space.
That sounds great. I think so. It sounds like it's mostly about, kind of being a leader for a very strong team, and kind of making sure that you're asking the right questions of the right people, and kind of just absorbing and documenting as much as possible, and just and I also really like the idea of kind of different levels of security for different types of data, so that
right.
Yes, it remains protected, but at the same time, it's ready to go, like you said, for that use case. It remains usable for the right purposes, rather than lock everything down. And if we need to use any data, we're going to have to go through this 12-step process whereas it might be public data that you can use in an hour if you want to.
Right. And I would say embedded throughout our strategy and in our data governance standard is the concept of fit for purpose. And that includes, okay, what is the nature of the data and how do you have to control it and govern it, as well as what are you using it for? So again, I like to say not all data is created equal, and we need to make sure we govern it and control it based on what type of data is and how it's going to be used. So again, we wouldn't want to control, publicly available data the same way we're controlling and governing, PII, for example. So it's really important so that, you don't take that one size fits all type of approach.
Exactly. I think that's critical moving forward. Well, this has been inspiring and incredible. So thank you very, very much for joining. I have one last little question. It's just kind of fun. KPMG is the leader in blank.
Like I say, delivering outstanding services and strategic value and delighting our clients.
I think that's a great answer. Well, thank you very much, Jodi Morton, for joining me today. If you're watching, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews.
Thank you so much, Mitchell.
Thank you.